our guest speaker for today is Solomon Eseme. He's the founder of MasteringBackend, an engineering education platform, helping developers transition from learning codes to building real products. Having shipped products across fintech, edtech, and headtech, it combines real-world engineering experience with missions to raise the standard of backend and AI engineering talent across Africa. So it's my pleasure to welcome him as our guest speaker for today's event. Welcome, sir. Thank you for joining us once again. So without wasting much of our time, we are just going to dive into the section. But before that, sir, you can actually say hi and introduce yourself to the community.
Hi, everybody. It's really, really awesome to be here. In fact, I always love to be in the gathering of developers, especially now that there is AI and there are still core engineers who are building systems. So it's always a privilege to be in the midst of developers like this to kind of talk, share, and also give insight into what is going on in the AI engineering world. So thank you very much for having me.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for joining us. So we're just going to dive in. So like I said, it's going to be a panel section. So our topic today is if you know what we're looking at, please just drop on the chat box. The topic is job readiness in 2026 for backend developers. So that's what we're looking at for today. Okay, sir. We're talking about job readiness for backend developers in 2026. So what does it mean for someone to be job ready as a backend developer?
All right. Thank you very much for that question. But that question is really deep, right? And it's going to take a lot of answering to be able to cover up that question. So, guys, as you guys can see, I didn't prepare any slide. The reason is simple. I want us to have conversations, right? Because I alone cannot answer these questions that, talking about what makes a backend engineer job ready in 2026. So I want it to be conversational where you ask your questions, we get to dialogue, we get to talk, and then we get to learn together, right? But to answer that question in a very simple way, what makes a backend developer job ready is mainly one, the technical skill, right? And also their soft skill in 2026. Whose skill now, soft skill now is a bit more important than technical skill, just a little, right? But technical skill is still important, just that now soft skill is kind of overlapping a little and getting more relevant when it comes to backend engineering job readiness in 2026. So we are going to deep dive into this, talking about what are like the technical skills that you need and what are like the soft skills that you really need in this time and age of backend engineering.
Oh, thank you very much, sir. Thank you. So I hope we're taking notes. One thing that's going to ascertain that you're job ready for as a backend developer in 2026, you made mention of technical skills. Moving forward, that's amazing. What does the backend engineering process actually looks like today, and how has it shifted in 2 years? Because you talked about AI and in this generation of AI. So how does it look like? A lot of developers will say, "Oh, AI might actually take my job. How do I navigate?" A lot of companies and organization wants people that knows how to navigate AI engineering and all of that. So how does the backend engineering hiring process actually look like today? And how has it shifted in the last 2 years?
Yeah, so for that particular question, now everybody has what we call workflow. How do you work as a backend engineer right now with the AI? How do you work with the AI? So everybody has their workflow. But I'm going to try to share a little of my workflow and then talk about like what are people hiring for right now, right? So for my workflow, initially when the AI started, so this is how I used to work with AI. First, I would open my VS Code initially, the way I would build systems. I'll start building, not thinking about AI. But then when I have a difficult problem or a difficult thing I need to solve, I'll then go to maybe I use ChatGPT then. I go to ChatGPT, ask the question, ask it to show me the code. It does show me the code, and then I bring the code down to my VS Code and just implement it, right? And it works. So that was the process I used before. But now there's Claude Code, right? So what you just do is you just describe your functionality, and then Claude Code writes the code for you. So with this now, what has actually changed is mainly the fact that you can you can know things that are done now. You would know things that are done, but you don't know how they are done, right? I don't know if that makes sense. So if you look at your code base, for example, you can tell Claude Code, okay, I need this particular feature, right? That is you knowing what should be done. And Claude Code is going to spit out the code. That is you not knowing how it is done, because there will be lots of files that will be created, lots of functions and stuff. But at the end, due to like how you structure your Claude Code in terms of your engineering practices, maybe you write tests and all of that, let's assume that it works exactly the way you expected it. So what has happened now is that you know exactly what is done, but deep down you don't know how it was done, because you've now outsourced the syntax and the writing parts to AI. Okay, so that is a very big shift, and this shift actually enforces how people are going to be hiring this year and even in the upcoming years. First, companies are going to be focusing more on like engineers that can instruct AI, right? So if you can instruct AI properly, I'm not saying tell AI to build a system and then AI spits out the system. You don't know what happened, right? I mean people that can actually instruct AI properly. If you are an engineer, what are the processes that you use to build systems that stand the test of time, or production ready system, as we call it in mastering backend? So how do you do that normally as someone that is an engineer without AI? All right. So definitely you have those processes in your mind, you have them in your head because you've been doing it over the years. Now, how do you instruct AI to use your processes, to use your method to build a feature or to build a functionality into an existing app or into a new application? Those are the kind of skill sets that companies are going to be looking for, going forward, because AI now can write those systems, AI can write those code. You might not even have to check. I made a tweet some other time. I said, I unconsciously begin to trust AI generated code, right? So that wasn't because I don't have the bandwidth to check the code one after the other before, committing and pushing it to production. But if you have done that, like if you've been checking this code for, let's say, like 20th time, and all of them are always correct, you don't really have to do anything extra. You will notice that unconsciously, right, you will begin to, trust the process or trust the code that this AI generates, because maybe your prompts are better or the way you structure your system is better, right? So these are some of the things that I call soft skills that companies are definitely going to be looking for, because the writing code part is now made easy, but instructing this AI and having a process in mind that this AI should follow to spit out this code is what is becoming very expensive. And these are the things that AI companies are going to be hiring for going forward.
Thank you very much, sir. That's good. So, moving forward, when you are evaluating a candidate, I know that you have actually hired people to join Mastering Backend, or maybe you intend to hire more people. So, when you're evaluating a candidate, what signal tells you that this person is ready beyond their resume?
First, this is difficult, right? Because you can't really just tell by looking at the person or by looking at their resume. But as to everything, if you give someone a task, right, and the person performs that task, from the outputs the person put out, you will be able to tell Now you'll be able to tell if you as a person, you have good experience around that particular thing. Okay, so you can give someone a task. Let's say this person should build a very simple notification system, right? Build a notification system for mastering backend. All right. So what you are going to be looking at is things very simple. Mastering backend now, where are we? How many users do we have? Let's assume we have 1 million users, right? So this person would build a system and then sends it to you. And when you look at the code, if you run that particular code to 1 million users, that is not going to scale. So definitely you're not going to hire that person because that person does not, first of all, meet the standard of your platform. Okay. So even if the person would know how to solve that problem, the person did not take the extra time to research mastering backend to know the exact number of users or to know the exact number, or even if it's not exact, like the range of hit or load that's going to be hitting their endpoint. So they might just do a shallow work, just build a very simple notification system that will not scale at the number of users on our platform. So that automatically disqualifies the person for me. So I feel like if a task is given to somebody, whether the person has good grades on their CV or the person speaks nicely in terms of things that they've done, when it's time to actually perform the actual job, right? If they are not able to make very little effort to look at where the company that they want to work for, where they are, and the system that they want to build now, if it would be able to kind of carry the load of that system, I think that person will be disqualified in my case, right? Because you cannot hire someone that cannot build systems that would meet our standard at that time, right? So that is what I feel like would be one thing that would disqualify a person. Because if you say, based on the CV or based on what the person says, this may not be true, right? Because the person must have maybe done research or padded their CV or whatever. But the actual determination comes from what the person actually builds and if it meets our standard at that time. Okay, so I think there's a question in the chat, so check that.
Okay, that's good. So the person says, given that John Kayode said, given that a lot of non-developers will now build products, now, how will they understand backend without AI, like understanding software engineering process, workflow, or pipeline tools and libraries or best practice?
Yeah, so now with AI, some persons say it's now easy to build products, right? I mean, my opinion on that is both. It is easy if you actually know how to do it. So I've had a non-technical co-founder, like a non-technical person. In fact, this person is in marketing, right? He hasn't written any line of code before. I've seen this person build a product that is live. Like you can go to that product, use it, you can even subscribe, use it confidently, right? So I've seen that happen. It's all boils down to the fact that are you actually ready, right? So if you are ready to learn, you will learn it. If you are ready to do it, you will do it. But how is it easy? It's easy for people that are already, good in terms of understanding these things that you've mentioned: software engineering, engineering processes, workflows, pipelines, and tools. So the easy that is being talked about is for these people because they would already know how they have been building systems, right? And then they instruct their AI to do that, to do it so. But for people that are non-developers, I think it's not going to hurt to actually take a very simple course on software, understanding software systems, right? And then once you do that, you can be able to understand how to build this product, how to build your product, and how to actually deploy your system. So one thing I would say in that case is take a course. If you're a non-developer, take a course, take a very, very basic, simple course, understand how software engineering actually works, and start from there to use AI to build. Okay. But if you're a technical person already, then the work just have your own workflow. How will you build your own system? How will you build your product? So start building systems for 1 million people, start building systems for 2 million people. If you've been building systems that have been used by thousands of people, okay, you already know how that works. But there is more engineering that goes in when you have 1 million active users, when you have 2 million, 3 million. So start building systems with AI that are actually targeted at this number of person. So if you put that into your prompt, we are building this product, but our target, we have 1 million users right now. Okay, so the AI is going to have that context and it's going to know to actually do things to be able to target this number of persons.
Okay, thank you, sir. John, does that answer your question? Okay, that's good. So moving forward, sir, with like a continuous question regarding like what you expect from candidates just beyond their resume. So I want to ask, what are you actually looking when you open someone's GitHub or review their portfolio projects? What are you looking at? What are the things, the key things that will just catch you and you know that, oh, this person is ready for this job or this person can handle this job? Just like you talked about assigning a task to them. So what are like the key things that every backend engineer is supposed to have on their GitHub or their portfolio?
Okay, so on portfolio, I think at this stage I would consider portfolio as everything, both GitHub or your external website, portfolio, or your resume. One important thing that I look at is problem-solving ability, right? So problem-solving ability, you could see it in the number of projects that you've built. Okay, so if you are curious, if you are someone that is curious at solving problems and you are a software engineer, the only way to express that is by building systems. So you look at fintech, for example, oh, you're curious about solving fintech problem. I will see that you build that. And then I will see that you build in health tech, all of this. But aside from that, if I'm going to review your code, I'm going to see some of the things that you have to make decisions, some of the problems of fintech, how you actually solved it. If you look at the code, you're going to tell from these persons the way they write the code or structure the code if they are fit for your organization. But one thing is problem-solving ability. And then another important thing is communication. So communication is now very important in form of how you send this prompt to AI, how you communicate with AI. So remember that when AI is building your product, you definitely communicate with it, like follow-up questions, oh, this one did not work, or stuff like that. And again, your communication between how you communicate with team members. So that can actually be seen in your ownership with, like, if you are giving a product to build, this is from maybe your resume or your portfolio, what are the things that you did, right? Did you work in a team? So when you worked in a team, what are the achievements that you guys had in that particular team? Were you the person leading that team? Now, if I want to really see your communication, I will look at the ones that you led. Okay, what was the results that you guys got, right? Because if there is no better communication in a team, I do not think that the result is going to be clear, right? But I also understand that people can, infuse things in data, like bulk of their CV or portfolio, but it's definitely going to be clear. The pattern is going to be clear as you communicate with the person, get to ask them questions around when they work in this team, because it's there in their CV, what problem did they encounter? How did they solve it? How did they come up with solutions or communication strategies to carry their team members along if they're actually leading that team? So those kind of questions is going to be helpful. But two things: problem-solving ability and clarity in communicating, what you're doing to the team. So those are the two things that I'm going to definitely look at. If amongst the different hirings that I've done, these two things are standing out for me. Because first, if you are joining MasteringBackend, right, if you are given a task, for example, you actually own that task. Like you own that task, like you have the ability to deliver on that task. Okay. So if you are given a task, it is your task. You do everything you have to do to deliver on that task. So I need people that can come back to me and say, okay, this is what was done. This is how it was done. And this is where I'm having issues. We dialogue and see how we can solve that. Okay, so communication is very important. And like I said, problem solving ability, so that when a task is given to you, for you to take ownership of something, you definitely need to know how to solve it or know how to learn to actually solve that particular problem. So those are the two things for me.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So we can hear that these are one of the things that employers look out for in employing. It's not just is way, I feel like it's even way beyond being a backend developer. In any area that any career skill that you find yourself, or career path, sorry, you find yourself, you know that you're supposed to have the ability to solve problem. If they assign tasks to you, you have the ability to have ownership of that particular task. Also, you have the ability to be a team player, be able to relate to team, tell them, okay, I want us to do this. I want us, just like you said, in matching back end, we work as a team a lot. And I feel like most organizations, so that's actually what they are looking for. So John also dropped the question. Any career path for junior or intermediate developer in this case? He has not led a team or project. What are the expectations? Okay, I think he's saying if either a junior developer or intermediate that have not led a team or a project, what are the expectations that these employers are looking at for?
Okay, so I think I will use this medium to just talk about skill sets that is required or that is needed in 2026. Because if you're a junior developer, right, first, I'm not going to think that you've gotten hired before. So let's just talk about like technical skills backend developers need in 2026 and above. So first, non-negotiable, you need this. You definitely need to learn a language. Almost everybody here knows that you can't even be a backend engineer without learning a particular programming language. Now, there have been so many discussions around which language should you even learn. I don't have a one size fit all answer to that. But for my suggestions, I would say Node.js, Python, or Golang, right? So these three languages and Rust. Rust is actually catching up, so you can learn it just for the future of it, right? So those are my suggestions, right? Pick any one you like from those and just go deep into it, okay? And then databases, of course, it's still one thing that you need to learn. Postgre, I always recommend, but don't just learn the database. One thing you need to learn in database system is SQL. So SQL is one thing that you definitely need to sit down and really, really learn, because when you know it, it becomes easier for you to switch between different databases from Postgre to MySQL, all of that. So sit down, learn SQL very, 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 very well. Okay. And then learn APIs. How do you really, really design APIs? So we've seen cases where people build APIs and the APIs are not uniform. So there is something they call API design. It is a course itself. This is not how to build API. It is actually how do you design APIs that are uniform. Okay, so sit down, pick a course or a book around this and really learn it before you start even building your APIs. Okay, so another thing, this is under technical. These are things you need to learn under technical. Another thing is system design. Okay, so if you are a junior developer, I think this is where you need to start. All right, start looking at system designs. If you are given a system right now, what I mean by a system is a product or a backend system that you have to build. If you are given a system right now, from the time you are given till the time it will end, what should happen? Okay, which API should call which API, or what should happen inside the system that you're building. Okay, so learn how to do this system design and learn how to even do component design in terms of, okay, what are the components that will make up this particular system that we are building? How do they interact together? Okay, so this is very crucial, and this is going to help you understand a whole lot of things before you even start building the system. Okay, so if you are to become a senior engineer, this is where you need to start. Understand system design, it's very crucial. And then the next thing is, of course, right now, many backend engineers own pipelines, more like they build the system, they deploy it, at least for testing first. So that means you need to learn CI/CD. is important. So take a look at it, learn it properly. Okay, so learn a language, learn databases, learn system design, and learn CI/CD. So these are non-negotiable. You need to learn this in 2026. Then when you're done with this, I think the next thing that becomes very necessary is AI integrations. Okay, so what I mean by AI integration here is a lot of things. The first one is learning how to use AI to build systems. So if you are given a junior developer, how do you work with this junior developer to build anything that you want to build? All right, a junior developer that can build anything you want to build. How do you tell it exactly what is in your head, what you want to build? Okay, so for some of us that you plan with AI and then it comes up with a solution, and then you are able to tell this AI, okay, this solution will not work. Let's use this particular solution in my head. So if you've gotten to that stage where you do that, then I think that you've worked with AI properly. Now, the next thing in terms of the AI integration is trying to integrate different AI systems into your product. All right. So you can pause here for a little while, integrate AI system into a product that will be used by 1,000 people, integrate AI system into a product that will be used by 5,000 people, maybe gets up to like 1 million people, so that you see like the different the different loads on these systems and see how your integration survives this test, right? So that is what you need to do, build different systems that will be used by different number of persons. You can do this very easy. There's something they call smoke testing. Just pump your database with like 1 million records and use different systems. Like I think there's something they call Canon in node.js, something like that, that you can use to stress test. So do stress testing, send 1 million requests in so number of minutes to your system and see how it works. Okay, so do this. These are like different things that you need to have passed, right? So once you've passed these different tests, let's say you send 1 million requests to your data, to your system, and it survives it, then you know that, okay, you can now know how to build, scalable system for 1 million users. You can go up to like 10 million requests and stuff like that. Okay, so do that if, you want to progress. And then another thing is you need to learn observability, because observability now is very important. Okay, the reason why it's important is because if you are building AI products are non-deterministic. What it means is traditional way that we build systems before. If we say something like if y if y is equals to this, do this. That is exactly how that system is going to work forever, right? But now, even if we have the same input with AI integrated, the output is definitely must or will be different. So that makes it non-deterministic. You cannot know what the output would be. So this is where observability comes in, so that you can actually test, check, and know exactly what is going on. So sit down, learn observability. There are so many things you need to learn there. Monitoring, metric tracking, observability, use these different tools, okay? And make sure that you know everything that goes in and out of your system. Okay, I actually got a job just because I was talking about observability in a podcast. Okay, so please, it's very important now in 2026 because systems now are not deterministic, and observability are the only way that you can actually know what is going in and out of your system. So it's very important. Then another thing, of course, is security. So of course, we've been talking about how important it is for web security. This is even the time that it's become even more crucial. So always look at the top 10 OOPS principle, implement all that in your system and make sure that it is secure. For some of us, this would be a great time for you to look into cybersecurity, but not for hacking process, but for web testing and making sure that your own web product is secure enough from hackers the best way that you can. So observability is important now. Security is important now. And then AI integrations at different level is also very important. Okay, but for a junior developer, those non-technical stuff are some of the things that you need to learn before you even move into this other side.
Okay, yes, that answers this question. Thank you very much, sir. I hope we are taking notes. Maxwell also asks a question. He says, when an aspiring dev has followed this path you have laid down, how do they go about finding jobs?
Okay, so finding job is like a new challenge entirely, right? So I think I could share my experiences in finding jobs, but every other person has like different experiences in how they find their job, right? So finding job becomes like a different challenge entirely. It is not just for backend engineers, right? So how I used to find my job when I was actually finding my jobs, I think the best thing that works for me is, should I say, building in public, not really building in public, but learning in public, right? So learning in public and building in public is one of the strategies that has worked for me, right? Because some of the jobs that I've gotten mostly from people that saw my articles, my content when I was actively writing, and then reached out to me. So this is the strategy I use to write content. So I don't just come up with content ideas as, okay, let me write about what is Kubernetes, right? Or what is Docker. I don't write those kind of content. Okay. So I write contents like right now I am working with Kubernetes and then I hit this particular problem. I am working on Kubernetes. I am trying to deploy a fintech product, right? And this is the problem that I have. This is how I solved it. So I read about how I'm solving a particular problem in a particular niche using a particular technology. So those kind of content resonate a lot with people because if there's a fintech team lead that is building fintech and then they have that problem and then they are scouting online, right? Everybody does that. If you have a problem before now, you search Google and then Google refers you to like different sites. So luckily, my site used to pop up back in the day and they see the solution to their problem right there. They are niched and the technology they are using. Of course, they are going to contact me. Okay. So those are the kind of articles that I write, and those has been very helpful. Okay. So right now, I think recently I got the job not because I applied, but someone reached out to me based on my podcast that I did where I talked about observability. I'm just telling you like the different things that works for me when it comes to finding a job. But traditionally, right, people get jobs from communities like Mastering Backend, right? So we always share jobs that people get to us because we are a trusted educational provider. So definitely we have people that we graduated. So we always share these jobs to them. And you can also get a job by applying on job boards. But one of the best things that you can do for yourself is there's a product that my friend built, it's called LAN. So use that, get a job, try to know if you are actually a good fit for that job or not before you even start applying. So these are some of the things that you can do to help you with chances of getting a job. Build in public, learn in public is very, very, very important. Even now, so if you're building AI systems, now AI is hot. So build as many AI projects as you can and share everything online. You don't have to share the code. You just tell them that you're building this, these are the problems that you are encountering. And then when you solve those challenges, this is exactly how I solve those. Okay, that is enough.
That's amazing. Thank you very much, sir. So the question, everything in conclusion is put yourself out there. Don't just hide yourself. Share your work in your social media platforms. Use it, utilize it very well. So moving forward, someone else is asking, I'm a backend engineer with over 4 years of experience, and I'm going deep into cloud engineering and security. My long term is to migrate to cloud security engineering and dev tech. Is this a good plan? What do you recommend?
Yeah, so first, it is a good plan, right? It is a good plan. And I would recommend, this is what I would recommend. So these things that you've mentioned here, they are individual career paths. So one thing that I would recommend is, first of all, do one to a particular point, okay? Get a job, build real system. For example, if you are a cloud engineer, right? Do cloud engineering to a certain level, maybe get one or two jobs as a cloud engineer. And then maybe from there, when you have solidified your knowledge in that field, you can then move to security engineering, right? So the part for me is make sure that you always finish to a certain degree one aspect of it and before you move to the next one, so that first you don't overwhelm yourself with knowledge, and you also don't have shallow knowledge in these things, because deep knowledge is very necessary even right now with the age of AI, so that there are people that when AI generates codes, they would really need them to look into it and maybe look at the security parts, test this code and all of that. So those people, they require deep knowledge. So always have deep knowledge in one field or one aspect. You can always move to the next one, but always make sure that you have deep knowledge in them before you decide to move. So that is my recommendation. But if you ask me if it is a good plan, it is definitely a good plan, because of course, this is to me like a ladder that you're trying to climb, and it is a very good one.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. What I got there is be a master in your field. Like know a particular field very well. It's actually a good plan, but be a master in your field. That is really going to help you. Not just learning this one and you shift. Funny enough, Seth, employers want people that have rooted experience. You say you're a developer. They want you to have at least show them what you've worked, the solutions you've provided, how long you have actually been on that particular thing. Okay, moving forward, sir. In regards to the AI part you talked about, so I think I'm going to ask this question. With AI coding tools everywhere, how has that changed what you expect from candidates, especially when you want to hire? Because someone can just go and, okay, you give the person a task, just like you talked about, and go to use one AI this thing and copy all the codes and send it there. How has it changed your perspective or things you look at for while hiring?
Yeah, so no doubt that AI is really, really helping people to write code. But for me personally, one thing I look at is taste, right? It's taste when it comes to how you use AI. Okay, even when you're writing code, like there's still an element of soul, right? For example, when people write content with AI, you hear people telling them, okay, there's no soul in this content. There's still an element of soul when it comes to you using AI to build product. Okay, first, what I look at is not the code, right? It is the correctness. It is the correctness of the code first. AI is going to make it correct, but is it finished, right? Like the finishing part of these products that you've built, does it have a human touch, right? Because if you look at AI generated code, you will see a whole lot of gaps that if you are building it yourself, you wouldn't go this extent, right? First, you wouldn't go this extent, or first, you wouldn't do it this way. You understand? So if you are to review codes that are generated with AI, you would see it, right? But for some persons that are good already and they are now using AI to enhance or speed up their process, you will see when they are writing systems and AI comes up with like a plan. For those of us that actually write the plans before the AI starts coding, they will tell the AI, okay, this plan would not work for 1,000 users. This plan will not work for 1 million users. Can we change it? Can we do it this way? Or there's this process I have in my mind. You will see those decisions happening in the ways that the AI generate those code. And for me, if I look at AI generated code from someone I want to hire, I would definitely see that this person is a professional based on the decisions that they have made, you know, going back and forth with the AI to get here or not. If the person doesn't have that, then this person is not qualified enough. This person just generated code with AI. Individually, everybody knows how can discern AI generated code from AI generated code that are from someone that knows exactly what they are doing.
Okay, sir, thank you for that wonderful answer. So I'm going to take this question. It says for backend engineers applying from Nigeria to international remote roles, what do hiring managers actually look for during interviews beyond technical skill? What's a praise candidate who consistently gets international offers from those who does not?
So two things, right? Since you've taken off technical skills, let's just hope that you have good technical skills. Two things. Number one is storytelling. Then number two is communication. So of course, I could have merged everything into one, storytelling, right? But of course, you need good communication skill to be able to sell yourself with good storytelling. Okay. So you need to be good at telling stories of how you did a particular thing in the previous companies that you've worked. Okay. So always putting yourself as the actor that saves the day. All right. So for example, right, do a very deep research on the company, get to understand where they are. This is very important. I think I mentioned this before. You cannot send me a code like I sent you a challenge to do for me, and then you are sending me back a solution that does not solve the problem at that company's scale. You understand? So I will not accept that. So always do deep research about the company, get to understand what the company does, who they stand for, where they are at, at their level, where they are, and then use that information to put yourself as the actor that is coming to solve their problem. So that is where storytelling comes. From your previous experience, if they are building fintech and you've built fintech before, tell them something like, oh, okay, we had a challenge of maybe we had 1,000 concurrent transfer that happens on our system in 2 seconds or 3 seconds, one certain time, and the entire system crashed. This is what I did to resolve it. I introduced queuing system, I introduced messaging queue, stuff like that. Okay, so that's going to show these persons that, okay, there's a problem that you had, and there's a way that you propose a solution, and that solution at the end saves the day. So that is you using your previous experience to actually tell them story of how you were the actor that saves the day in your previous company. And those kind of communication is going to help you, convince this person that you're the right candidate for them. Okay. So that is what I would do if I'm face to face with a company and my technical skill is not the problem. I just need to convince them that I am the best person for this guy. So I'll use storytelling to actually win them over to my side.
Thank you very much, sir. I think this is the last question from my end. Then we'll go into maybe Q&A from the people here. So, what is the most common mistake you see developers make? Something they could fix if they knew about it.
Okay, so to answer this question, I'm going to say one of the mistakes that I see developers making is right now. I think developers think that for them to land a job, it's about their technical knowledge. Okay, so the software engineering world has passed that level, so it is not, or it is no longer more on your technical knowledge. It is more on soft skills. So communication, storytelling, team player, all these different things that you would consider soft skill. That is what is winning right now. Okay, so I could give you instance, right? So you can be hired right now as a backend engineer, and you can also be sacked in like 1 month or so because you're not able to communicate properly what is going on. Okay, so that is where that is where engineering is right now. Because if you take a look at it, AI is here to actually stay. So take away that notion of AI cannot build system. AI can actually build systems right now. I mean, I have used AI, and I am firmly going to tell you that AI can actually build system if you know how to prompt it properly. Okay, so what is needed is someone that can use this AI to build the system that is needed and communicate it properly to either team members, everyone, stakeholders, management, and all of that. That is what is needed right now. So please, engineering or backend engineering is no longer more on the technical side. It is now more on the soft skill side. So let that shift actually happen to you. Learn more how to communicate better, how to talk to people, non-developers about what you're building. Okay, so you can start practicing this by building products for yourself on Twitter. Share what you're doing online. Be able to convince person to understand a very difficult problem that you solve, and then maybe jump on a call or in a meeting with them to actually communicate with them and get to understand and get to tell them so that they understand what you're doing. So this is actually going to help you when you join a team, and it's going to show that you have good soft skills. So these are the things that I want to share with you guys. Though soft skill is more now than technical skill because of the advent of AI. AI can actually solve the technical part. You only now need soft skills to be able to communicate it with teams. Okay, I know it's contradicting, but it is the truth. It is where 2026 is going.
That's amazing. Thank you very much, sir. So I've learned that having soft skills, it's very, very essential as a backend developer in 2026. AI is not going, it's taking over. Like, that's the truth. It's not going, it's not leaving us anytime soon. I don't even think it's going to leave us because we are evolving. So it's not going, it's not leaving. So learn a soft skills aside from the technical skills that you have. So we're in our Q&A section. If you have any question further, you can drop on the chat or you can signify by raising up your hand. A question from Edward. I want to understand the trade-offs in back-end system and how they affect architectural decision.
Okay, so trade-offs are important for you to actually know. What I do is to have a base that I am building for. Okay, so if I'm building for 5,000 people, right, or I'm building for 1 million people, so I always have a base. I cannot just build system and say we can have 1,000 people or we can have 10,000 people. That's not going to work. You will not be able to do proper trade-offs for such kind of system. So when you are building a system, get to know, okay, what number of load, like what is the load right now that we are building for? So if you have that load and then you build for that load, this is one trade-off. You build for that load, then you can easily just scale that load. For example, if you build your system for 1 million users, right? So when you exceed that 1 million user, you can simply spawn another server, like have two servers, one for 1 million users, the other one for 1 million users, right? And that's going to scale like that for you. Okay, but if you don't have a baseline and then you're building your system hoping that today you might, okay, this system might have 1,000 people or might have 10,000 people, you don't really know. You wouldn't know what trade-off to actually use or what not to use. Okay, but trade-off actually affects your architectural decisions because if you are building for 1 million users, right? The way you're going to structure your queries, your if statement, your loops, rather, all of that, okay, you try to eliminate like n+1 problem. You try to introduce queuing system, try to introduce messaging queue. But if you're building for 1,000 people, all those things do not matter because it's just 1,000 people. Okay, so that is why you need to have a base first, and then you start from there to know that, okay, if 1,000 people are using my product, what part is going to fail, what part is going to succeed, and how can we eliminate those parts that fails. And then once you have all this documented, then you will notice that your architectural decisions are going to be based on the base that you've set for yourself. Okay, so these are the quickest way that I make trade-off. I just have a base of what I'm building for at the time, and I start from there to make my decisions.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Yes. Are there any other questions? Please let us know so that we can move forward. So I don't think we have any other questions now. So we're going to move. So I'm going to call our COO. Someone else says, how can I access to the jobs you share? I'm a front-end developer, but currently learning backend engineering, 1 year experience in Node.js. Okay, if you're in a community, a Slack community, you will have access to this job. You're going to move forward to, I'm going to be calling on our COO, Mr. Lucky. He's going to give us a brief review of what is happening in Mastering Backend.
Right. Good evening, everyone. Let me just confirm. Can you guys hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah. So, firstly, I'm not a backend engineer, but I've gained a lot of knowledge from this session, this community hour. So, yeah, as we begin to wrap up today community, I want to quickly share something Mastering Backend has been working on, and I think a lot of you in this meeting today would find this very, very valuable. So, Mastering Backend is we're coming up with a workshop on the 11th of July. It's titled "Becoming a Backend AI Engineer." Building AI powered applications with Python, Fast API, and LMS. Now, this is for those of you who want to move beyond just learning AI and actually building with it, especially from the back engineering perspective. And in this session, we are bringing in experts, tutors who are going to be giving us very, very practical and immersive lessons. We'll be covering how to integrate a fast API with how to work with vector database, build rack systems, and think through real. There's actually going to be like a live session where a product is going to be demonstrated live that was built on that particular workshop. So for everyone who I'm urging or I'm expecting everyone on this community hour to be available that day. So you just expect less theory and more on hands work on the real applications. And then if there's something you are looking, if that's something you are looking to grow, then this is actually a very, very good idea, because after that section, we are having like a whole new learning path for that particular workshop. So you can register and get more immersive knowledge. So and then we will also be launching our Discord community very soon, Mastering Backend. Currently we are all on Slack, but we want more exciting experience for everybody who is going to be in the community hour. So we the founder has stated earlier on, and that's the person of Mr. Solomon. There's a lot of rebranding, just to make sure at the end of the day we give you guys the value that we want, to make put us on the map in Africa, basically. So we are doing a lot of rebranding. So that has also led to us, coming up with a new Discord, a new community that's going to be on Discord. It will be live by next week. And everybody on this, session today will be emailing you, will be sending you an email to, come and be part of the community. And then there's a lot is going to be happening there, a lot. So that's it from my end. Once again, I'm happy, you know, I'm glad to see a good number of people participating to this participating here today, and I'm very certain within a number of time would, would would actually move Africa forward when it comes to backend engineering and all that. So thank you so much. Thank you, Blessing. So that'll be all from me now.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for that section. Sir, Mr. Solomon, please, in just 2 minutes, just give us like your final words for the people that joined this event. Like, what's your advice to them? Like your final words to people in the job market, developers in the job market. Yeah.
All right. So one thing I always say is um, always make sure you're making progress. Okay. So this is very important. Even if there's AI, even if you are still, searching for a job and all of that. But one thing should always be constant. Always make sure you are making progress. If you are focused on backend engineering, make sure that you are making progress in it. So if backend engineering is going towards AI, make sure that you're making progress towards that. Okay. So progress is very important, because the 1 second that you just relax, you'll notice that you will be trying to catch up. Okay. So always make sure that you are making progress in your career, whether backend engineering or not. If a new thing come up, learn it, take a look at it. If you like it, you focus on it. If you don't, you leave it. But always make sure that you are making progress in your learning journey.
Oh, thank you very much, sir, for that words of advice. Thank you so much for that. I really want to appreciate everybody that have been on this call since we started till this very moment. People that joined, even the people that registered that could not join. I really, really appreciate you. And sir, I really want to appreciate you also for making that time to join us in our community office hour. And I know that a lot of us have learned a lot, for sharing a very, very valuable insight on what makes a backend engineer's job ready in 2026. We appreciate your time, the experience, and the practical knowledge that you've shared on this community office hour. So everyone that attended, thank you also for sharing your questions, your thoughts, and for participating. So I really urge all of us that joined this call to share a key takeout of this section on the Slack community. What you've learned, share it on our Slack community channel. It will actually help us and go a long way. Really appreciate. So I encourage everybody also to participate. Mastering Backend is, we're not just talking about practicals, theories. I'm sorry, we're not talking about theories. We actually build real world projects. We are going to train you to have experience, to build projects that people are going to see and they will want to contact you. So I really want, or I'm urging everyone to participate actively in our community. And also, I don't want to sound listen, but invest in your future. Yeah, that's the right word. Just invest in your future. It might cost you, but you will actually see the value at the end of it. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you, everyone. To have a wonderful weekend. Thank you. So the summary of what we discussed is already on the chat. You can copy it, and the video also, the recording of this section is going to be on our YouTube channel. Please follow us on our YouTube channels, follow up on all our social media handles, read our articles, and thank you so much. So have a great day or a lovely weekend. Thanks.